Recording.
Hi, this is Christina Ortiz from Team CLS, and we're going to present our portfolios for the week.
I'm Lynette Solis.
I'm Shamira Henry.
So I decided to do the portfolio on human performance improvement. So kind of the proposal or justification for the certification. Prior to Lynette's presentation earlier this week, I had not heard of human performance improvement, but after reviewing it, I see how we can apply a lot of these, I guess, like tactics or strategies to my current work situation. So for the proposal rationale, we have a group that we call the Corporate Technical Services Group, and that training goal is to provide development and opportunities that enhance knowledge, develop skills, and enrich the company. Their mission is to create and disseminate knowledge, promoting evidence-based practice in safety leadership, incident prevention, human performance, and standards, which are critical to safety success. I don't mention it here specifically, but I do a little further down. I do work for a pipeline company, and it is some of the jobs are very dangerous, and we were very heavily regulated by federal and state agencies. So the ADT does offer a human performance certificate that aligns with CTSG's goals and missions. So after completing the training, I'll be able to use the performance DNA methodology and tools to gain customer alignment and commitment, capture goals, performance gaps, identify key performers, analyze human performance, recognize positive and negative influences on performance, and then document findings. It's important when you are looking at near misses or incidents that you go beyond focusing just on human or component failure. So you don't want to say who was responsible. What you want to identify is what did what, or where did your procedures necessarily fail. So HPI does a deep dive into data analysis, consolidation, and decision-making methods that derive defensible workplace performance findings. They reveal what you want to really look at is trends and patterns and why does that something keep occurring, and then make recommendations. So this figure 1 is the HPI areas that will be addressed in the certification course, and the figure is called Determine Desired Performance. So for the purpose of the training certification is to determine the exact cause and performance deficiency that's preventing you as a company from reaching your objectives, identify the performance required to get to your end goal. The reason that cause analysis is so important, you want to find out what happened, why it happened, and then put systems in place so that it doesn't occur again. It involves asking why an issue of concern is happening or has happened, and then models are applied to determine performance gaps. So really you're looking at gap analysis and then root causes. It requires you to move past current issues and understand what possible solutions could be for your group. During the cause analysis, we'll review data information, feedback, incentives and rewards, skills and knowledge, motivation, and expectations. So the HPI, utilizing it, when looking at it, there's probably several different interventions that Genesis as a company could utilize. I decided to focus on these 3, which are job analysis, performance support, and human resource development. For job analysis, what that does, it studies your job to determine which activities and responsibilities are included, the relative importance to other jobs, what qualifications necessary do you need? Like, is that a certification? Is that courses? Is that just training? What does that entail? And then the conditions under the work is performed. The reason that I think that this is so important for where I work is we have a control center, and that control center is responsible for kind of viewing the pipelines and what is going on in the pipelines. So if there's a release, if there's a fire, if there's an explosion, these are going to be like the first people to determine if something occurred. And so they need to be well trained, but also we've had a lot of near misses and incidents but not really any root cause analysis. So I think implementing this HPI would definitely help my company. So what we want to look at is determine if these operators are competent to perform at the level expected. When I say that they're familiar with all situations, there's different pipeline systems. So they have different like pressures, flows, sometimes different products. And you'll know like crude oil isn't as explosive as like gasoline or fuel. So it's important they're aware of all the different situations that could happen. So that's really important. Okay, so I think that would assist in providing some kind of, I guess, measures for us to do, and then also solutions of why we keep having these near misses or incidents. For performance support, that's a tool or other resource from print to technology supported, which provides just the right amount of task guidance, support, and productivity benefits to the user right in the moment of need. So I think sometimes they refer to it as, was it just-in-time training or something like that? So like I talked about on, I can't remember what day we met. The other day is ISN, we use the database, but if you're not in that system every day, you're going to forget how to walk through the steps. So to supplement formal training on OQ contractor management, I would create like a whiteboard animation for long-term retention of information. And then I have a SharePoint, which I put all of my quick reference guides, my program, the appendices. I would put that there so employees could easily access it. And something I'll probably add to this is recently I've been using Teams a lot to generate, like to start a session and then walk employees through running reports or looking up contractor grades. So I think that's a way that I'd be able to enhance performance support and kind of implement it at all levels of the company. And then finally, for human resource development, I would assist in analyzing the capacity and capability of employees and adopt a, can you see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, something popped up, sorry. I would assist in analyzing the capacity and capability of employees and adopting a pay for performance culture to boost the productivity of employees. So the reason I talk about this is because this directly affects me. I've been with my company, it'll be 10 years next week, and I have not been promoted to like senior OQ specialist or OQ manager, even though I manage the entire program and there's no other OQ person. So I've asked for like guidance, or if there's a policy that establishes when you reach that determination, when they reach that determination, how you'll be promoted. So I think by implementing that and knowing that there's a structure for pay will boost the employees' morale. Because right now it kind of seems like you're given a raise based on who your supervisor is. So I think applying these HPIs to human resource development would kind of affect the overall mood and happiness of the entire company. Okay. Okay, so in conclusion, just a couple of things I want to talk about. Change management is really big, and we have a lot of pushback for change management because we have employees who have been there for like 20 or 30 years and don't necessarily like change. So it's important that you have management buy-in for this change management. But according to the Harvard Business School, change management drives the successful adoption and usage of change within the business. If you don't have this effective organizational change management, the transitions can be rocky, expensive in terms of both time and resources. So it's really important that you have adequate change management procedures in place. And then finally, skills enhancement. So the training obviously can provide invaluable credentials that allow me to bring dramatic improvements to our company's process for developing and supporting our workforce. Also, no one else in the company holds a certification. So it's going to be skills and knowledge that no one else within the company has. And here are it should be the resources and then a link to the certificate if you want to see it. I'm not sure why it's not pulling up. But the last page is just the references and then a link to the brochure for the HPI training. And that's all I had for today. Oh, there. I don't know why I didn't come up.
Wow, you did really good.
That was really professional, Christina.
It does. And it's like really relatable. I'm like, man, we're on the same page here.
Yeah, she was like, apply it to your work. And I was like, man, just like looking at it, I mean, we could apply it to so many places, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I will go ahead and go next. Unless you want to, Shamara.
I'll go next.
Okay, you can go next.
I'm not as fancy as you, Miss Christina, with your presentation.
It's Canva, really. Not me.
Okay, can everybody see it?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Shamara Henry. I'm going to present motivation, volition, and performance for my portfolio 9. The first one I will do is application question 2. The second one will be application question 3. Application question 2. When it is time to prepare a list for specific motivational tactics to use in a given situation, how would decision-making process be different with ARC's model than with Wygotsky's time continuum model? Clue: with ARC's model, what is the process for determining what motivational tactics are appropriate? So I'm going to briefly go over each of the models, and then I'll explain what's the difference. So in Wygotsky's time continuum model of motivation, it is vital for a lesson or an activity to be thoroughly planned, because that's when the instructor has the opportunity to determine where they're going to place those motivational tactics. So the motivational tactics to be placed at the beginning, well, they need to be placed in the beginning, middle, and end of the learning process. That way you can have a greater impact on what the learners learn. So within each of the periods of the learning process, there are 2 factors. So at the beginning, it works towards attitude and need. This is when the designer has to ensure that the instruction not only meets the students' needs, but also give them a positive attitude about what they're learning. During the middle of the lesson, it's stimulation and effect. So the designer has to maintain stimulation and effect by asking questions, engaging the learners with videos. They can do voice inflection, group work, or class discussion. Also, during the middle of the lesson, it's best to try to present the lesson in a way that you didn't present it from the previous day. So if one day you presented it like using Google Slides, another day you can do your lesson using quizzes or Flipgrid. At the end of the lesson, the designer will provide frequent feedback and communicate the learner's progress to meet the factors of competence and reinforcement. So this is really important, because this not only continues to build the learner's self-esteem and confidence, but you provide feedback of how they're doing before you let them go off into individual groups. Keller's ARCS model is systematically designed, and it analyzes the learner's motivation to determine the number and the types of motivational tactics to use. It consists of 4 categories. They are attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. So for each of these categories, the instructor is going to use different type of motivational tactics to ensure that they keep the learner's attention. So for example, attention, that will be inquiry, asking them a question that makes them think critically, humor, having participation, excuse me. The next category is going to be relevance. So for relevance, that's when the learners have to view whatever content you're presenting to them to be meaningful and also relevant to their lives. So that could be modeling, making choices. So for example, if we were talking about earthquakes and how the aftermath of the earthquake, you have to relate that to why it's important, such as the side effects of an earthquake and us having to donate to other countries or even ourselves because of the aftermath of earthquakes. Next category is confidence. So confidence refers to the learner's belief to accomplish something and the confidence to believe in their ability to be successful. So you have to make sure within the lesson that you're implementing activities where you can ensure that the learners will be success or even scaffold the learning to help them to be successful. If you find that you present something that's too difficult, then that's when it's time for you to redefine it to ensure that the students or learners feel successful. The last category is satisfaction. Within this category, learners receive verbal reinforcement, feedback, and rewards. And some of the rewards can be, it doesn't have to be a physical reward, it can be a verbal reward as well. So my conclusion is that Wolski's model categorizes motivational strategies and specifies when to use motivational strategies during each instructional process. The instructor chooses the type and the number of motivational strategies to implement during instruction. The ARCS model likewise includes motivational strategy and tactic categories, but it also includes a systematic design that examines the learner's motivation before instruction, and the learners are the ones who get to choose the type of motivational tactics to integrate within the lesson. Also, Keller's model does not indicate when to use the strategies in the instructional process, whereas Wolski's tells you exactly when to implement each type of motivational tactic. The third question, this is the scenario. Ashley is elated to be accepted into the LPN licensed practical nurse program at her local state college. She is thrilled because she has held this goal for many years. Her intention is to successfully complete the program, but beyond that, she wants to finish in the top 5% of her class. She begins the semester with hurricane intensity and receives top grades on everything, as well as admiration of her instructors. Midway through the semester, she is invited to join the women's volleyball team after a friend observes her excellent skills during a pickup game with friends. She is almost immediately added to the varsity team and finds the competition and field trips to games at other schools to be exciting and satisfying. Questions: what kind of effect might this new goal have on her previous goals regarding her LPN programs? What can she do to protect her original intentions? Use key concepts from this chapter in formulating your answer. So Ashley's new goal may negatively affect her goal of graduating in the top 5% of her classroom. At the beginning of the semester, she was intense and determined to earn high grades. The amount of time and energy she dedicated to studying and completing assignments will decrease with her involvement on the varsity volleyball team. Also, she will encounter more external and internal distractions. Keller's 5 principles that incorporate motivational and volitional concepts can be applied to protect Ashley's original intentions. Since Ashley has a high need for achievement and seeks challenges to feel satisfaction, it's important for her to continue to maintain that. So the second principle, it correlates well with her being on the varsity volleyball team. This non-specific goal provides her the opportunity not only to acquire new skills in a meaningful way, but it relates to her goal of her wanting to have that satisfaction. Also, on the team, she interacts and has fun with peers and is challenged by applying her skills during competition. This experience allows her to build upon her prior skills, increase her feelings of competence, and feelings of satisfaction. The third principle is motivation to learn is promoted when learners believe they can succeed in mastering the learning task. So throughout the semester, Ashley will eventually encounter a struggle between maintaining high grades versus participating on the varsity volleyball team. She has to plan and implement behaviors that will result in successful goal achievement. So it's vital for her to manage her time appropriately for each goal. And Ashley can use a task management system to organize the demands of coursework and competitions for the volleyball team. Miss Christina, I used your ideal and I looked it up, but the platform of monday.com, I saw that it was very beneficial. And so I suggested that she uses it because it provides a visual schedule. It can customize her needs, and it also constantly will keep her on track of what she needs to have done for the goal of maintaining high grades and also being a participant on the volleyball team. The fifth principle of implementing volition is key. When her original goals collide with internal and external distractions, this may hinder her from accomplishing her goal. Therefore, she has to use determination to persevere in her pursuit to accomplish her goals and resist temptation and stifle impulses to abandon them. She can complete a comprehensive assessment that will determine her motivational and volitional characteristics. An evaluator will review her assessment and create an intervention that will guide her to achieve her goals. Lastly, she will complete the evaluation on the intervention treatment plan and compare her motivation and volitional characteristics from before and after the treatment. Also, she can read, say, or even write positive affirmations to encourage herself to stay on track to achieve her goal. And these are my references. Thank you for listening.
You put a lot of thought into that.
Yes, it was, I like that one because I'm a teacher. So I was like, oh, I can see all of her distractions.
Mhm. It does really bring another perspective. All right. So for my portfolio this week, I use the human performance scenario. So with this scenario, it says examine the HPT model, answer the following questions as if you are submitting a professional development proposal for yourself to your future ideal job employer. You seek the HPI related ATD certification. So that's the Human Performance Improvement certification. And your employer needs to know how this training for you will augment your achieved IDET master's degree and how it will help your professional settings. So what I did is I actually wrote a letter to my manager because I felt like that was the best way for me to propose it to her. Where I work, we don't really have a lot of time for me to set aside and do an actual proposal to my upper level management. Most of our time's really busy. So just finding that. So I figured the best way was for me to write a letter and kind of explain what it is and why I think that it would be a good idea for me. So in my letter, I addressed that I believe this certification could have a major impact on our organization because our organization is growing constantly and we need to identify the performance gaps and address them to help reach our business goals. And then I said that the human performance improvement consists of concepts and tools to improve organizational process and individual performance. This training would help to further my knowledge in the HPI, HPT model and assist me in learning techniques that could be utilized in the development of our performance improvement plan. Right now at work, we are actually creating what they call training plans. And I'm trying to get them to switch their mindset, because it's kind of happened like right before I was hired, to more of human performance improvement. And so for this, I listed out the 4 main concepts and I described them. So performance analysis, this is performed to identify the areas of concern that are considered gaps or opportunities for growth. This analysis also helps to determine if progress has been made and allows the organization the opportunity to acknowledge challenges that are hindering progress. For cause analysis, this allows the organization the ability to determine the causes for gaps, types of causes for areas of growth, our accountability, resources and tools, and training. So basically it's helping us identify if our areas of weakness or where we're seeing issues are due to accountability. So motivation of our employees. Do we need to look at what we can do to help with our culture and motivate our employees? Is it lack of resources and tools? Do we need better tools that they can use? Or is it due to training? Intervention. Sorry. Intervention. So once both analyses have been completed, then the organization will need to create a plan and decide what is going to be done to address the areas of concern. This is the time to set goals and determine the types of intervention that will be used. That's one thing I know about my company is we haven't set goals about why we're wanting to create training plans. And then evaluation. So during this time, the organization will revisit goals and choose measurements of success. It is good to evaluate through the process and create milestone checks to monitor the progress of the plan. The plan should be iterative, meaning that it's continuous and constantly reevaluated as new data presents itself. There are 4 levels of evaluation. So here I discuss formative, which focuses on how things work, summative, which it determines the level of understanding or knowledge or application of the content, confirmative, which measures the effectiveness and efficiency of the interventions, and the more complex evaluation, which is meta-evaluation, which is all 3 combined. So then I go on to discuss the training will focus, or this training will focus on HPI model, which I presented below. 3 interventions I believe would help our organization would be job analysis, organizational communication, and organizational design and development. So for job analysis, a job analysis is a process used to collect information about the duties, responsibilities, necessary skills, outcomes, and work environment of a particular job. And then I know that we have a lot of people who don't have set job duties or expectations. So clarifying those expectations for their assigned roles could really help us in moving in the right direction. So creating job descriptions based on the job analysis can clarify those expectations and motivations. And taking a look deeper into operations can allow us to gain useful insight. So kind of seeing where some people have responsibilities that really shouldn't be theirs and moving those responsibilities to other people who should be taking care of those issues. Then we have organizational communication. Organizational communication is how an organization communicates with its constituencies, employees, and stakeholders, as well as with the community at large. So as our organization, we deal with the hospital, we deal with our members, we deal with the state, we deal with other managed care organizations. So being able to communicate with everyone and even just departmentally in our own organization. I see a lot of struggle with that, the communication between departments. And a lot of the time, my department as the training department is kind of in the middle, place the middleman between people instead of them just kind of talking to themselves. So learning how to develop a plan for effective communication can help with our departmental mission of improving the culture through cross-department collaboration. So allowing us to create that and bringing those groups together so that they can actually talk instead of us doing the legwork for them. A lot of the time we find that our departments have a trouble communicating with each other and we end up being the middleman. And then organizational design and development. Organizational design is based on the structure of an organization and focuses on the processes, practice, and performativity with an organization. So while organizational development builds the human and systematic capabilities, practices, and behaviors that make organizations effective, I believe that our organization might be in need of a redesign in the departmental processes and flows. Identifying and addressing areas of our initial design that may need revising could create a better member experience and ultimately help with the organizational mission of improving the lives through quality healthcare. I feel like we have a lot of complaints or concerns that could be addressed just by changing some of the processes and flows of some of our departments, especially the ones that reach out to our providers and members directly. And then here it says, I have given this request a lot of thought and truly believe we could make a significant change in our organization for the better by implementing the HPI-HPT model. Allowing me to obtain this certification would be the first step of the process for implementation. Once I receive the certification, I would then begin implementation by conducting a performance analysis. I'm willing to lead this initiative and manage or coordinate this project. I truly appreciate the consideration. And then my references. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording.